And we actually have Jeremy. You want to play a song for us, and then we can roll along.
Sure. What do you think, Brian? I have two instruments here with me today in the studio. And do you have a preference of what you'd like to start, what I'd like to present first?
I don't know. Well, why don't we talk about I don't know the official name. I just know it as the turtle shell drum.
The space drum, yeah. The space turtle. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the TerraPan. Um, so there's this instrument that is inspired by a steel drum. It's basically, logistically, an inverted steel drum
Mm-hmm.
that you play with your hands, and it kind of looks like a little spaceship. And I actually have some video here, so if you're watching, I can show it to you. But kind of looks it, and if you not, I'll describe it as best I can. It kind of looks like a spaceship, like a flying saucer that you can hold in your hands. And around the top of this, there are different what we call nodes, which are little divots in the steel. So there's two pieces of steel shaped by hand with hammers into place. And each of these nodes gets a different note. So you have the middle tone, and then you have all of these other different notes. And through series of exploration and rhythm and melody, you can create some really cool auditory textures with this instrument. But originally, it was this configuration of the steel drum was formed in Switzerland in the year 2000, and the original name was called the Hong drum, Hang. It was made by one company called Pan Art, just a group of people that kind of really innovated this instrument. Then other people started to figure out how to make them, and they became known kind of as a more generic term as handpan. So you'll see handpan if you do a YouTube search, a lot of videos for that. However, the maker of this particular instrument calls them TerraPans, and they come in all different types of tunings, all different types of notes. You can get them custom ordered. If you are interested in looking at more information, just Google TerraPan. The company is called TerraTones, TerraTonz. But yeah, I'll play a little bit for you so you can get an idea of
Well,
what
well, real
this
quick,
is.
how did you find this
Oh,
instrument, you
sure.
personally? Because I think that's an interesting instrument to just kind of stumble upon. I didn't even know it existed.
Yeah, well, for me, it was um, just kind of by chance. I had known about the Hong drum. I'd seen videos online, so I was familiar with the existence of this instrument. And it was just one night that I was out at an open mic at Hambones, and it was one of those. It's kind of a funny story. It's one of those nights where it was a holiday weekend or a holiday week, and Hambones decided to combine on one of their days to compensate their comedy open mic and their music open mic. So they did an early show music, late show comedy. Um, so I went out and I performed, and there was another performer there. He was from Australia and he was traveling through, and he wasn't playing this instrument, but he borrowed someone's guitar and played and sang, and it was a really good performance. And um, I decided to talk with him afterward and just kind of say, "Hey, welcome to Pittsburgh. What are you doing here from Australia?" Um, Turns out he was traveling, and very nomadically traveling. He had said that he had just come basically all the way up from South America through all these countries, traveled up through Mexico, and made his way up to Pittsburgh. And the reason he was in Pittsburgh that night was because he was traveling with this instrument, and he needed to get it retuned. So there's a place near Morgantown there, which is a steel drum studio that they have specialists that tune steel drums and these instruments. Um, so basically, he dropped his instrument off and spent a night in Pittsburgh. And I happened to be at the same establishment where he was, and he was very kind to give me information and to point me in the right direction to get in touch with Terratones. Um,
Are
so
you
that
the only person in Pittsburgh who lives here that plays this instrument
I as
that
far
you know of?
as far as I know, and as far as Chris at Terratones knows, I'm the only person who owns a TerraPan. Now, there are other instruments that are very similar that I've seen. I've only seen one other person who had one of these, and that was at an art all night a couple of years ago. And he allowed me to play. That was the first time I actually played one. But it wasn't a TerraPan. It was some other configuration. Someone else had made it. So there
Okay.
are a couple of them. I heard people say, "Oh, I saw that at the arts festival" or something like that. So I know there's a couple of them roaming around, but I'm not sure who or what type of instrument because they're all different tunings. They're all different.
Hmm.
But
Very cool. Well, I'm excited.
yeah,
Let's hear it.
let's play a little bit. Let me get in a good position here.
All right.
And if you can't see, it does have a hole in the bottom, so it is hollow.
Mm-hmm.
It forms a really cool harmonic overtone. But let's see what we can do here.
And you could also use that other mic. I can activate that if you need it.
That might be good. If I can just maneuver this.
He's moving the mic for those of you listening. This is a very cool instrument. You have to, if you're listening at riversedgepgh.com, you have to at least take a look at the video, or I'll try to post a picture after the show of what this instrument looks like. It's really fascinating.
I'm going to take these off for the time being.
All right.
Like this.
at the river's edge will you hear that. That's awesome. That is why we are Pittsburgh's voice for local music. Fantastic. Seriously, you won't hear that anywhere else.
That's true. Nowhere else.
So that is awesome. Very cool. And is that going to be at the event at the 30th, the early show? You'll be Radio Birds will be performing with you there.
Yeah, absolutely. And in addition to that, I'm going to have a friend of mine join me. We've been experimenting with doing a duo. He plays in an open tuning on guitar, and we've been kind of experimenting with how those sounds kind of mesh together. So yeah, if you come out on Thursday evening at the Funhouse at Mr. Smalls, you'll definitely get a taste of that. We're gonna do a nice little duo, TerraPan and guitar, which should be fun.
I'm very excited. I'm very excited to be a part of that as well. We'll be there broadcasting it live so you can hear it again, which will be just so cool. It really is just a treat to be able to hear that. We're going to be right back with Jeremy, and we're going to talk more about the show at the Funhouse at Mr. Smalls in just a minute here on the River's Edge.
Would you be interested in developing conscious choice? Would you be interested in creating reactions rather than waiting for one to come? Would you be interested in combining serendipity and synchronicity? Would you be interested in making 1 + 1 = 3? Would you be interested in finding out about full impact mindfulness? If so, I challenge you to join myself, Jim Ellermeyer, a cognitive behavioral health therapist, every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. on the River's Edge, where we will challenge you to allow us to help you help yourself to fully participate in your life. Let the adventure begin.
All right, we are back. Had to get my plug in for Fishing Without Bait on Sundays. I'm running behind on my promos, but you had to hear that. That was awesome. So tell me about this show, and it's an important show to you.
Yes, it
For
is.
an interesting reason. We were just talking about birthdays, and I just turned old, and now you're turning old with me.
I'm right behind you there, Brian. I didn't realize we were born so close together. We're like exactly a week apart because you're the 30th, right?
I am the 30th, yes.
I am October 6th, so I was born a week after you.
That's because we're amazing people.
Yeah.
It's a good time to be born.
86, 30 years ago, man. 30 years. So yeah, I'm turning 30, and I am kind of a last minute sort of planner. I don't plan until it's right, before the ideal situation. So
Sure, I understand completely.
so I've been thinking about this all year. What am I gonna do? Everyone asks me, "What you gonna do for your 30th?" Oh, I don't know. We'll do something. We'll figure it out when it comes. And luckily, this kind of just fell into my lap beautifully because I have another friend of mine who her birthday is on October 5th. And she is a very dear friend of mine. She's also a big music fan. And for her birthday this year, she decided to put together a show with one of her favorite bands. So she had the space booked, and through kind of we ended up realizing that I ended up helping the situation for which she booked the show. There was this early show on Thursday, which they hadn't done. I was the first person to kind of do that. And I did that in August with a show I put together. So she was able to have this date. So the Radio Birds are from Atlanta, and they're a great band. They're really solid. They're really fun. I caught them live once down at Jam and Java a couple years ago. And she was like, well, we're putting this show together for my birthday show. I'm like, when? She's like, October 6th. I'm like, that's not your birthday. That's my birthday. She's like, well, it's close enough, And she was like, wow, we're looking for an opener. And it was just a sealed deal at that moment. So I'm excited about it, and I'm just doing a short opening set, but I'm really, really stoked about it, and I'm bringing in some friends to join me, some of which I've made music with in the past, and some new friends who there's some new collaborations happening, one of which I already mentioned. So yeah, it's going to be a special day, and also the venue is fantastic. It's a newer venue in Pittsburgh, and if you're listening, if you think you've been to all the venues in Pittsburgh, no, come on out. It's a really great space to hear music.
Yeah, I love it there. It's one of my favorite venues, and I love the early shows because, as you know, my work schedule's a little crazy, and I'm able to go to them. So it's a wonderful thing. So I'm very excited about it, and I'm excited to see this again. I was able to see you play this at some open mics, and I'm excited to see how you're able to mix it in with some other people. You did play with the house band, I believe. With the can you give me the name of that instrument again?
The TerraPan.
'Cause I just want to call it the turtle drum.
The space turtle, yes.
Yes.
Well, actually, the thing about this instrument that I didn't mention is this particular one is tuned to slightly lower pitch than normal Western music frequency. In Western music, we tune with a standard of the note A being 440 hertz. So if you ever go out and listen to an orchestra and you hear them tuning up, they're all tuning to an A at 440 hertz. That's been the standard for many, many years, since about the mid 40s. However, there's some people who believe, there's a large group of people, and there's some evidence to sort of support this claim that a more intrinsic frequency with nature is just slightly below that at 432 hertz. So whether or not you believe that or not, you really can't deny that tuning to that frequency has a more warmer tone. It's just a little bit lower, and does, relatively speaking, have a bit of a warmer sound to it. So to answer your question, this instrument is hard to play along with other people if they're in normal tuning. So I have played with some people, but they've had to tune to the instrument, which can be a little bit of a pain, but for me it's totally worth it, because I didn't necessarily get this instrument to go and perform out a lot. I kind of got it to share and to be reflective and kind of,
Well, I'm glad you fell through on that.
Yeah, so now I'm like, now it's like, hey, come watch me play TerraPan. But it's been a fun little journey so far. But I don't think I actually played with, I think I know what you're talking about, but I played a song on the TerraPan, and then I think I brought the house band
Okay,
up.
you brought them in, so I haven't heard it played with someone, so that's
So this
gonna be exciting.
Thursday will be the first time.
All right, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And what else do you have going on? You're always in a million different ways, and if you're listening, just so you know, in 3 minutes we'll be kicked off of Facebook Live, and you'll have to go to riversedgepgh.com and listen to us old school style, audio only. So if we run over, that's going to be in about 2.5 minutes.
All right.
So prepare to go to riversedgepgh.com and click the live stream at the top of the page.
Sounds good. Actually, right now it's been a little bit less busy than normal. Normally I would be going in a lot of different directions, and I still am keeping busy, but basically I had planned on recording this fall with Nameless in August, and a lot of things have kind of fell through with that a little bit. Our drummer, we're really happy about for him. He just got married.
Oh, okay. Congrats to him.
But his wife got a job in Arizona, so
Oh, no.
it was kind of like, we are so happy for you. We're sorry to see you go. But so now my fall has opened up, which has been great for me, because I realized that I haven't been getting back to my own music and my own expression. So I've just been writing a lot, and I assume that this fall I'll be playing a couple shows. I know I've got some in the works. I think you're a fan of Wolves in Sheep's Clothing, right?
Yes.
So-
Yes.
So I don't know if
Huge fan.
I don't know if I can announce this yet, but I'm sure they won't care. But they are
Breaking news.
They are doing an album release show at the winery,
Oh, nice.
and I will be playing a short set opening that night up for them, and that will be November, early November. I believe it's the 9th, but don't quote me on that. But please keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, absolutely. We love them. We found them the time that I saw them play with you guys, which was like that was like a dream show to get both of you guys together. But that show was only the second time I actually saw them live. They were one of the few bands that I had like very little contact with. I believe my business partner Sarah found them and added them to the network. And because they were so far, not that they're that far outside of the city, but they were far enough to where they didn't come into play all the time. So I didn't get to see them afterwards. Most of the bands, even if they weren't a band that I approached, I eventually found my way to one of their shows to see them, because I like to see all the bands in person and, try to show support to what they're doing. And I had a hard time seeing them. So that was only the second time I was actually able to see them perform. But
Yeah.
no, it's great.
The good news is they are playing a lot more in Pittsburgh, and
They
some
are.
some of
Yeah.
the members are now either living or seemingly planning to relocate out this way. So yeah, they're great. If Wolves in Sheep's Clothing, check them out. They've got an album coming out, and I'm happy to be a part of that as well. So that's exciting for me. I have a couple other things in the works, but I not that I would feel comfortable announcing yet because they're not confirmed. But there's some exciting things coming up, especially in November. So,
How has the quest to find a drummer gone for you guys? I imagine a band that is as solid as you guys, it would be hard to replace somebody whenever they do leave.
it is. It's always hard to replace any member. Um, with drums, sometimes that can be difficult. Sometimes that can be easy with a group. With us, it's proving to be just a little bit difficult for a number of reasons. One, we're a string band, and typically string bands, when you bring in a drummer, it creates a lot of logistical issues. Now, in the past, with Mike, we actually had a very strong advantage where he played what we call a V drum kit, which is an electronic drum kit, which we've got a lot of mixed feelings about, and believe me, we've had our mixed feelings about it. However, we found that it was a tremendous benefit to us because we had full control over on-stage volume and a number of other different things. So where we were playing, like for instance at Voodoo Brewery, we played a lot inside. If you have a full drum kit in that space, it's not going to be successful because of the acoustics and the way that things work.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, that became a very comfort. But for finding someone else, and a lot of people don't play that, and I don't know if we're looking for that again. So the search has been interesting. We've really only tried out one person as far as bringing them into a rehearsal space. But we're kind of taking this time as a bit of a slight hiatus to really there are a lot of things going on with members personally. One of our members just got engaged.
Oh, wow.
Another one. So we're just kind of taking some time, and I think that in a couple of months here we'll be going full force with moving forward with that.
Very cool. Well, I look forward to seeing you as an individual continue to grow, and I look to see some of the stuff that you're doing, because I imagine that's like difficult, because I know myself, I have Howie and Jay who come into studio every Saturday. They do a show with me, and I love it, and it's wonderful, and it's an easy show to do because we can bounce off of each other. A lot of times I'm here trying to strike up a conversation with myself, but at the same time, I love having that control and the creative autonomy to do what I want, and I don't think I could go into a show where I only have a co-host. I don't think I could get into a show where I'm tied down to another person, because even with my producer, when I have a producer, I haven't had a producer for a while, but the producer kind of comes in when I invite him to. He doesn't just come in. So, I love having Jay and Howie in, but I like having them in once a week or once every other week instead of an everyday type of a thing. And it is really different performing with somebody or versus performing by yourself.
Yeah, and there are benefits and
Absolutely.
challenges to both. There's nothing like having that creative freedom. If you're a very creative individual, there's nothing like having, and I hate to use the word creative control because that's such a starch word, but
Mm-hmm.
it's nice to have that, because then you're not having to juggle a lot of other different things. You're not having to worry about people's egos and other people's creativity. But on the flip side of that coin, if you have the right people, and if you can kind of collaborate, the benefits are kind of exponential in a way if you get the right setting. And I think that's why bands form. I think that's why they stay together. And I think that's even why they stay together despite a lot of differences, because it's hard to be in a working relationship with multiple people.
Mm-hmm.
It just, you're going to run into problems. You're not going to have a perfect situation. So I think the music or whatever creative collaboration you're creating kind of tends to make up for all of those struggles, and it becomes worth it in the end, hopefully, or it's a fiery ball of exploding egos and creativity.
Well, you also got to find the right mix, because you need to have the right elements. That's one of the nice things when, you find someone you work with. And like Jay, for example, I've had him on the program since before the River's Edge was even a thing. So, we've always worked well together, but, there's other people, that come in, and it's like, for example, I had one interview, and hopefully they're not listening, but the guest was great, but he brought someone with him, and I'm doing my opening monologue, and the guy just starts talking, like trying to jump in. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? So the guest, it was awful. I was like, and there was another time I had somebody in here, and it was just like chaos, because there was somebody else in here trying to comment on the conversation that we're having as if they're watching it from at home, and I'm like, you can't just talk in here. This is an active studio.
Yeah.
I don't mind you sitting in and listening, but it's you got to be quiet. So it depends. You got to have the right people who are in the same kind of mind frame and add something unique to the situation.
Yeah.
In order to keep it.
And that's
keep
how
it
you
going.
figure it out. You got to go through that trial and error, and then you realize, I'm sure you've had sessions where you're talking with someone, or you're just like, this is going really well. We are clicking. We are really, really working, vibing well. I can't wait to have this person back on my show, or I would love to collaborate with them. And I think that's musically, that happens a lot too, where you'll see two musicians just click, or, as a musician, you'll find someone that finally you feel like, oh my gosh, this person gets me musically. And I'm sure you've had that experience too.
Oh, sure. Creatively, I understand that. It's a little bit different because, well, not different. I shouldn't say different. It's a little bit, my personality, I think, makes it harder to do that. There's some people that just can't, I can't give anything up. So it's like, it's hard to, that's like I said, like with Jay, for example, it's like once every other week is good. But I come in with my own skits and things like that, and it's it's hard to. I'm not very collaborative, so I think now other ways I am, other times I can be, but as long as I have my own little thing, and I think that so I'm excited to see what you come out with as an individual artist, because I think it'll be different than what you do with Nameless in August,
very much,
and I'm excited to see those differences.
Yeah, and I'm fortunate enough to have. Be in a creative realm where I can do the individual and the collaborative, and it kind of lends itself to all of that. You're in a position where you honestly, you need to have that control. You need to have everything lined up for you, because I'm just looking around your studio. There's all these wires, there's all these computers and screens and all this stuff that if someone else came in,
actually, you know what,
mess it up.
You're right, and you made me think of something. I had a producer once, my first producer, and it was Jared, and I was doing at WCAL. And those of you who are watching, you'll be actually, you won't be able to, you can't watch it because the stream is dead. But those of you who watch it on demand, WCAL, they had let's just say you're sitting here across from me, the table is here, the soundboard is here to my right, the computer is behind me. So if I was in the middle of an interview, I'd be whoosh, whoosh,
Yeah.
whoosh, whoosh. And I would actually wear myself out spinning, trying to do everything at once, and I was desperate for a producer. And this one guy, his name's Jared, Jared Sofranka, he said one day, I was a guest on another show called Put It in the Morning, and it was a morning show at WCAL, and Jared was on the show, and in the middle of the discussion, he said, Brian, do you still need a producer? And I'm like, please, yes. So he joined the show, and he and I clicked, and I've had other really great producers. Tom's done a great job with me. My roommate Justin once produced, we did a thing together out of WPTS, and he produced my show. But with Jared, it was like he could read my mind,
Yeah.
and he would take it on upon himself to do things on his own, but it was always within my style. He kind of got my style because I'm not zany at all. I don't like zany radio. I don't like, hey, it's radio. Whoa, 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 whoa. Like, I don't like that kind
You
of
don't
stuff.
like that?
It makes my skin crawl. So, but he got that. But like, those of you who are long listeners of the show, you know that the bicyclists of Pittsburgh are my sworn enemy. So I would go off into a rant about the cyclists of Pittsburgh, and then all of a sudden we can't do this on this station, but he would creep in, Queen's bicycle song
Yeah.
underneath me as I'm talking, or we did one little skit where we had Michael Bay call into the studio, and there were explosions going off, and the studio caught on fire and things like that. But he knew how to put things in exactly at the right spot, and it wasn't like I had to coach him through it the whole time, so then I could react to what he was doing. So I
That's
can
great.
understand exactly where you're coming from.
And that's a situation where you find some, and it probably created the situation where, it's like I said, the sum is greater than the parts, and that mix of you two was creating a better listening experience
Absolutely,
for your audience. And it's the same with music, and I've had that experience, and I've seen that experience where it's like, oh, these two. The best part is whenever like actually this new person that will be playing guitar with the TerraPan. His name is Dominic Antonelli. He's a very very talented young individual and very optimistic person, and we traveled together. We were able to visit Colorado in September, and people would listen to us, and afterward they'd be like, this is amazing, like you guys, like, how long have you been playing? And we're like, well, we just started yesterday or the same day. And it was just one of those moments where it's like, oh, okay, this makes sense. We kind of both know how to fill in those spaces or leave spaces for each other, which I think is important in music. So glad you had that experience, and it's always good to meet people.
What's funny about that too is after I told him one day, you did a great job and everything, and he's like, I didn't even know what I was doing. I'm like, well, you did something right, but
sometimes the greats will always say, like, they're people who are really good, and they're so
he's not
humble about it.
Yeah, and he's not going to school for radio either. He was going to school for business, a business degree. So he was just kind of doing it for fun, and he just wanted to jump on the show, and it was good. I got one fan letter when I was there, and out of WCAL, it's a music station. I think I was the only true talk show on the network. There were people who had talk segments. Put It in the Morning, for example, they did some talking on there, but I think I was the only one that was like primarily talk through most of the show. So people weren't used to it, but it's college radio. It's where you can use that venue to kind of hone your craft. So when you can get into the real world or start talking on the internet, you've got some experience behind you. So I got this letter from this prisoner actually, and there was a prison near us, and they always listened to the metal music. And at the time, metal was the major genre of music at the station. There were a lot of metal shows, and they would write in their requests to the metal DJs. And this guy wrote me like this huge long letter, and he had really small writing too, so he really went in depth, and he like went over like every single part of like multiple shows and everything else. And he was like, he was a big fan. And my biggest fear, because I knew that the prisoners listened, and my biggest fear was either they would be angry I was talking at all, or they didn't like what I was saying, and someone would come out and like kill me. And this guy, I think he was actually in jail for murder. But
nice. Was this written on like toilet paper? Did you?
No, it was like the old school yellow paper.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and he was a huge fan of the show. I was like, oh,
awesome.
great, he's a big fan, because I thought for sure, he was going to come out and, put on that clown makeup that we were talking about earlier.
You're
And
attracting the psychos, man. Good job.
yeah, but no, he likes me. So the crazies like me. So
Me
so that's
too.
good. So,
The crazies like me too.
yes, makes
great.
it fun and makes it exciting.
Oh yeah, very very unique experiences there.
It's 3 days from today, 7 p.m. It's going to be October the 6th at the Funhouse at Mr. Small's, the early show, 7 to 9:30. And you will be there, Jeremy Colbert, with Radio Birds. Check it out.
Thank you.